following up a little bit more on that community relations liaison job you had for the city of Pasco. James, the question I want to ask of you now, what kind of cooperation did you get from the city of Pasco and Pasco Police Department? Were they committed of trying to establish better community relationship, or was it lip service?
No, they did. They worked very diligent with me, the city manager and the chief of police. Mm-hmm. You had a few guys in there that regretted me, you know, and there was a joke told one evening, and I cussed them out.
Mm-hmm. Jim, did you say that was it at that time was the city manager? Did you mention Marv Winiger?
Yes.
And it was the city manager.
He was the city manager.
And the mayor was.
He was the mayor was Ed Hindler.
Ed Hindler at that time.
Ed Hindler was the mayor at that time. And yeah, they worked with me. And one thing the chief set up when we went in, he told the police that my job was not to investigate no cases for the police department. And he told me these words. He said, if any policeman come to you and ask you any questions about anybody out there that he should be working on investigating, I want to know about it. Mm-hmm. He said he will pay for it. And any time that a person would come to me with some type of action between them and the police, and I investigated it, and there was some wrongdoings in there, that policeman was reprimanded. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there was some police reprimanded, and I'd write them up. I'd write them up, and I would give her one of the write-ups to the chief and one to the city manager. And there was some police left the department because of that.
So they were committed, we'll say, to making the changes. And when you did the investigation, and on, we'll say, your findings that there was some activities that was inappropriate,
yes,
they dealt with it effectively.
And Al Tabali thanked me many times for opening doors to him that has not been opened to the police chief, by inviting him into East Pasco, into different organizations, and into the night spots, and getting to know people, and setting up the ball games and stuff, mm-hmm, where we could have some interaction with each other, mm-hmm, and that was good. He was for all of that. Mm-hmm.
And you say that at this time the chief of Pasco Police was Al Tabaldi?
Al Tabaldi. Okay. Yes. And he worked with me on that very, very well. And mm-hmm, I appreciated that. Mm-hmm.
Jim, again, you're a person who's multifaceted, like I said, and involved in an incredible number of different things in the community. You also mentioned that you were involved not only with the organizing, but you also were involved with the Ironworkers and Apprenticeship programs. And in your involvement with the apprenticeship program, I assume, or let me ask you, were you involved in, we'll say, minority recruitment? We'll say, raising that window for blacks to have opportunity in building and construction trades.
Yes. That was a part of my job.
Tell me, Jim, some of the encounters that you've had, some of your success rates, of recruiting black young men and or women into the program. Tell us something about that.
Well, I tell you, it's very understandable that young black men didn't know anything about the four crafts that black men could not participate in. It was electricians, the pipe fitters, sheet metal, and iron workers. And those were full crafts that the judge recommended that no other person or no other nationality could be hired except blacks for 5 years. And we had to graduate 625 black men and women through these 4 locals.
Well, this was through affirmative action. Affirmative action was,
Yes.
okay.
Affirmative action.
Blacks, African American, were not involved in the building construction crafts in those 4 crafts.
No, that's right.
The reasons, well, the reason why they were not involved, was it closed to the father and son type of?
Yes.
And because I can recall myself, as I was graduating from high school, I had no knowledge of building and construction apprenticeship programs, such as electricians and stuff like that. And so, you saying that by mandate, you had to recruit as well as graduate a number of African American men or women in a specific period of time?
Both, yes, both.
Okay.
Both, men and women.
Yeah. Jim, you also say that recently you ran across some of the young men that you were involved in recruiting in the iron workers, and it sounded like they were thanking you for reaching out and showing them the way. Jim, how does that make you feel, as far as on that accomplishment and being able to reach down, reach back, and provide the direction?
It makes you feel very good, John, because, these guys do not understand about these different crafts. And it makes a lot of difference when you are put out in a position and you've never been there before. And you're out there with all the white guys and they're going about their business because they dare to sit around the dinner table and talk about these things, But my daddy wasn't able to do that. So these young men's fathers didn't know anything about the iron workers, the electricians, the pipe fitters. So we had to have counsel. And I was what's it called, a counsel. I worked with these guys, I recruited them, and I went on the job to see how they would function, what they needed, what their weak places was, where they needed help. They went to school 5 nights a week, 2 hours, to learn this trade. And they had to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And if they didn't, then they were thrown out and somebody else was recruited.
Jim, let me ask you, we'll say you're being a counselor, we'll say in apprenticeship programs, was the success rates where you thought they should be? Were they good? Were they low? Did we have a good completion, we'll say, rate of African Americans in the program, in the apprenticeship program?
I'd have to say 87%.
Mm-hmm. That's successfully completed.
Charlene Bell was one of my iron workers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Her brother Alfred Bell was one of iron, and her little brother got killed up there. John.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there was Ron Howard coming under that, and Tony Troy. Tony, Faye's son.
Yes.
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 He's iron worker now. He's getting ready to retire.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the guys that I had worked with that, I had to get in the morning, call them.
You had to jump.
They didn't go to work.
You had to jump start them, Jim?
I had to jump start them by going. I always kept my little piece under my arm because the guys were rough, and they'd be done, went out at night and didn't want to go to work the next morning, and they'd get up and, I'll shoot you if you come in here. I'll do this. I'll cut your head off of you. I was going there and said, well, I'm going to shoot you back. I said, you going to go to work this morning. The man need you. If he hadn't needed you, he wouldn't hire you. You going to work. I'd make them go to work every day and seeing that they go to school. Every night I was at that school. I checked them out. Every night, brother, I was out there.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was any problem, the teacher, he reported it. He reported it to me. And I would talk to these fellas. I went on the job to see how they were progressing. I talked to the foreman whom he worked with, his guys, the journeyman.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some guys too, 19 months with journeymen. See, so these are the kind of things that we worked for. We had ladies, they were iron workers. Juanita was a good iron worker. She was just one here from Pasco. But they were very good. They were very good. Yeah. And I met some guys last summer in the park at the in the shopping center on 23rd up there in June. And they rushed me, was hugging me and going on, and I said, please don't do that. People think we sisters, you know. And they are getting ready to retire. They were thanking me for what I had done for them, to give them a chance in life and have something to retire. They got good retirements from these jobs. And it made me feel very good, very good. I've helped somebody.
Good. Jim, you know, on opening some of these doors and knocking some of these barriers down, it wasn't done voluntarily, Jim. You know, and it was certain action, whether it was, you know, civil disobedience at the time, because of, you know, we'll say in the majority community, the majority community just wasn't listening. And sitting down to the round table might have worked for certain groups, but in the black community, we have sat down to the round table any hundreds of thousands of times, and we still did not get any effective change. What do you think that, or some of the causes that moved for some of the social change to break down some of the barriers as far as getting into some of the apprenticeship program? We're talking about college education, you know, where we've always had African American men and women graduating and going to college, but through, we'll say, affirmative action, we started seeing more folks, blacks, getting involved in apprenticeship programs, going to college, graduating in college. But what I guess I'm saying is, it didn't happen by accident. It happened because of individuals were out there on those lines and were calling for social change. Do you agree on that, you know, or not?
Yes, and I think a lot of us, our young people, was misled. I worked in OM over there a lot with young people. 3 years ago, I was in Walla Walla, and I had breakfast over at the Black Angus, and there was two young ladies walked up, they almost looked like twins, and grabbed me, and I thought they were trying to get my money out of me. I started scuffling with them, and they said, "Mr. Pruitt, you don't know us?" I said, "No, I don't. I'm sorry." And they said, "You remember OEM?" I said, "Yes, I do." And I looked.
Operation Motivation.
Yes, Operation Motivation. And she said, "I want to thank you and Trooper Kennedy for helping us to turn our lives around." She says, "I'm a doctor," and the other one was a teacher.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, but those kind of things that make you feel good. Blues. And on Saturday you hear a little bit of blues. That's about it. Sunday all day you would hear all gospel, and the sheriff would ride around the church. "Is everything all right, boy? See if everything all right." So you'd be ready to go to work Monday morning. And as soon as Dr. King come along and said, "Let's get up and do something," we're going backwards, not moving forward. What did they do? They started bombing the black churches and killing black folks because they began to move out. The ministers should tell our young people, whatever your talent is, use it. I seen Milton Norwood's little daughter blowing trumpet in the church up there. Now she done went through 4 years of schooling and learned how to blow. And the minister telling her to blow for God. Don't get out there in the streets and blowing the horn. Now who gonna pay her salary receiver? B.B. King, I talked to him. He and I was 80 miles apart. I said, "B.B., suppose we'd have still been in Mississippi." He said, "We'd have been down there smelling behind the mules." He said, "But I'm able to do something for my kids and my grandkids." He's got 29 grandkids. He got a club set up in Hollywood. He's got one in Memphis. He just set up one in New York. To him, that's a job. But to black folks, because the white folks said if you sang the blues, you're going to hell. We couldn't swim on Sundays. We couldn't play baseball on Sundays. You know, a lot of black folks wouldn't cook on Sundays because they done told them it's a sin. And we still living on that old tradition. And this is what I'm telling you young people. Get out from under that. Don't believe that kind of stuff, because all it is, they're taking the Bible and keeping you under slave. Get up and whatever is the pleasure in your life and other people enjoy, do it. Mm-hmm. That's what I do today. Whatever people enjoy doing, people call me on the phone and ask me sometime to sing a couple of verses of a song in New York. That's the truth. Detroit or someplace. I sang. Why? Because I may not have that chance again. I don't care if it's the blues. I sung the blues plowing a mule. I learned how to plow a mule singing blues. You know? Mm-hmm. And the blues ain't nothing but the preacher said the blues is singing for the devil. My little blind friend up there used to play at the Black Angus here. He's playing up there in Anchorage. He offered the church to play for them. They didn't have a keyboard player. Now he play in the club. That's his living. You know they wouldn't let him play in that church because he's playing for the devil, and you can't play for the devil and the God. And then turn around and say, you got to earn your living by the sweat of your bride. And if singing ain't sweating, I don't know what it is. And I can't understand why the ministers are still going through these things. Mm-hmm. It's a shame in holding young people back. This is one of the reasons, John, that we can't get nowhere. It's because they got the kids' mind part. They're not teaching them nothing. And we have to teach them that they're number one in their life, and whatever is available to them that they want to do, go out and be a policeman. Go out and be a lawyer, be a doctor, be a city council, be the mayor, whatever you want to be. But you don't ever hear them say that. You don't hear them saying nothing about the people that have paved the way for us along the way. Reverend Allen has never contributed nothing to this community. Never. And he told me Juneteenth day down there, he had a $4 million project in Portland. I said, Reverend Allen, what about here? You live here. Well, it's in Portland. He ain't never contributed nothing. And people tell me, well, it's because of the way his family is. I'm a man. Don't let nobody tell you what you can and you can't do as long as you're right. That's man, while he's the boss of the house. How his wife gonna tell him he can't be involved in nothing? He come to one council meeting. But tell young people, they ain't telling young people nothing. You see, I tell them you're number one in your life. Your heart is the church. Your body is your temple. Whatever you need, you look within yourself. The inner strength, the God within you is the one that gives you direction. See, that house over there is a house of fellowship. That's where people go and communicate and swap conversations with each other. But this is the house of God. This is the temple. It's here, your body. And when they start telling young people this and whatever, they use it. Whatever your talent is, use it. Love, you have to find it within yourself first. When you find that, you can go anywhere in the world and find it. I have no problem nowhere I go. Peace, people say, I'm going out here and find me some peace and happiness. It starts with you. Any change you want made in life, brother, you have to start with you. Right. Because it's not going to change if you don't put forth an effort. And you can sit here and pray until doomsday, until you get up and do what you're supposed to do. You ain't going to get nothing. See, and people was talking about if you got the faith of a mustard seed, the Bible said if you got as much faith as the mustard seed cut into 4 parts, one little square, you can move mountains. Now, the preachers don't explain that. You hear you've heard that before, ain't you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have.
But now, you know what he's talking about? You know what kind of faith he was talking about? You see these big machines they build? They move the mountains. See, that's what he was talking about. If you got as much faith, you can build these kind of things. They'd blow a hole in the mountain and take them big ukes and stuff and run it in and get it out. And the way they tell you that, if you have enough faith, you can stand and look and pray at that mountain so long it will move out of your way. If there's something in your way that, no, you got to be able to move it. You got to be able.
So Jim, you're saying, that before the black community can help itself or help ourselves, we got to get up and take some steps.
That's right. We got to find ourselves. We got to find ourselves, and that's something that we have not done. We are still dependent on somebody else. And y'all know, when you talk to people that's supposed to be Christians, they'll tell you something that's wild and it's a whole lot different from what it is in the book. It is. And the book has been translated 15 times. And it's been translated. And you look in the Bible now, they got pictures in the Bible. See how many black people in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
See how many's in there. And I'm very angry with our ministers. Not that I'm, but you try to tell them, and they, oh, you wrong. Where you get your philosophy from? But I tell y'all something. I had an experience in 1966. I was driving from here to Bellingham. I was working on Woodby Island. I was building some barracks over on the Navy base. I was driving along one evening, something called my name. I was singing, kindly take this message to the other side. Something called my name at the double bridges. And if you ever go into Canada, when you get between, before you get to Mount Vernon,
mm-hmm.
there's 2 double bridges there. And just as I crossed that bridge, something called my name 3 times. I'm driving. Said, James, James, James. It said, live your life, that others may see the life you live, because your life may be the only Bible that they will ever read. And it scared me so bad, man, I didn't know what to do. I put on my brakes, and I was sweating like mad. And I don't know the day why it said that. 1986, I was working up on Mount McKinley. I built bridges out there for Sandstrom and Sons, and we stayed out there at the camp. So in the evening, I used to get in my truck after I worked 12, 14 hours a day, sometime 18. And I'd go out there. The sun didn't ever go down to 12:30. I'd get in my truck and go out there, sit out there and look at all the animals on the side of the mountain, the bears and the goats and the moose and everything doing their thing out there. And I sat out there one evening. Something called my name the same way, man. And I mean, it just shocked me again. I'm sitting there and it scared me. And I asked the question when it said that 3 times to me. I said, why me? I said, because you're you. And that time there's some ducks crossing the road, had some little bit of baby ducks. And all them little ducks was in a little hut following their mom. And one started off, and she turned around and pecked him. And he got back in there, and the spirit said something to me. If that duck can train his duckies, looking at the bears, if the bear can train his little cubbies, if the goats can train their little lambs, the cows can train their calves, why can't we, our people, our children? Why? Those things, it's because, I don't know. I don't know why. But these kind of things, I don't know why they come to me,
mm-hmm.
but it did. And I think about it, and I talk to young people about these things. I still work with them. I still go into the schools. I still go into young people's organizations and talk to them.
Jim, you've always been active, we'll say, with the youth in the communities, as I said earlier, as I was growing up, I know that you were involved in organized baseball, and I know James Jr. and I, we were also playing ball
mm-hmm.
together. So I know he took us, to the ball games. And at that time, I believe it was the Tri-City Braves. I believe it was the Tri-City Braves.
I bought a $50 Cadillac from his daddy. And I went everywhere, to Portland, Seattle.
But Jim, again, you
another one down there, Jim.
Do you?
Yeah, we got another one.
$50? I want it.
Jim, again, you have a wealth of information about, we'll say, the community, about folks in the community, about the signs of the times, you know, where we, you know, where we were, where we came from, and you know, and we measure different ways. And right now, Jim, I suspect, I guess you're retired here right now.
Yes. I retired in '89.
Jim, I know that you've done, like I said, you've done a multitude of things. I know you've been a contractor.
Yes.
And I say, you know, that you've been a sports official, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess within our interview, you know, you saying that, you know, I've just had that intestinal fortitude to want to get up and want to do better for myself and see my people do better.
Yeah, and especially young people. I want young people to have an opportunity I didn't have, and I want them to have that.
Jim, in that same line is, where do we go from here? Do you think that African Americans acclimating more into the, you know, the mainstream society, do we have a uphill battle from what you can see in the trends out here now?
Yes, we still have an uphill battle because people is not yet grasped to what is happening. They still, some of them are still living back in the 20s and the 30s, and you got to leave that. If you don't move with time, time gonna leave you standing still, and we have a lot of people like that. They don't believe in what, I mean, you look at the music today. You look at the gospel, contemporary. Young people, excuse me, they don't want to go back and sing the old songs that we sang. Oh, I want to be ready, you know. Oh, I'm getting ready. I'm going to meet my God. You see, when young people come to the world, black people, they start teaching you to die, that you going, how to get to heaven. And this is my speech. How you going to heaven when you haven't did nothing here? We have got to learn to live here first. And this is what we are not doing. They're not teaching us how to live here together, John. They're teaching how to get to heaven. But what we going to do here first? And a lot of people, you talk to them about that. Child, I know I'm on my way to heaven. I'm going, look, this is your heaven and hell right here on earth, son. When you leave here, your spirit will be left. But your body is going back to the dust. That spirit will be in the body of some other human, not yours. You finished here on earth, and when you are done, ain't nobody been back to tell you how it is over there. As them old folks call it. So that's why he said, don't put off today for tomorrow, for what you can do today, because there is no tomorrow. It's either today or yesterday.
Jim, you know, again, you know, in the black community, uphill struggle from where we may have been 50 years ago to now, young people's better access to education or quality education, maybe a little, you know, fine, you know, I'm not going to say finer minds, but now they have some credentials because of their college education. Do you think that the young people and seeing more with a college education, are they going to be able to benefit and help blacks move vertically, more, you know, progressively vertical movement? You know, do you think because of more blacks are being educated that they're going to be able to reach out and be more salvation because of their education?
I hope so. I hope so. I hope they're not selfish. But a lot of us are. and I hope it should reach back. And that's what I always try to do. If I get 3 steps up on the ladder, I like to have someone on the second behind me. See, as we move up the ladder, we should always be able to look back and bring somebody else along with us. And I hope, and that's what I tell young people each day that I talk to them. Don't forget where you came from. Don't forget your sister, your brother, your African American. Don't forget where you come from. Always try to help those that need help. And I hope it brings about a change.
Jimmy, so you're saying, don't forget from whence you came.
That's right.
And speaking of selfishness, the selfishness, hoping that by having access to education, that we'll be able to look at things conceptually and not keep starting back off at square one.
Right.
That we can be able to move forward with the knowledge and progressively move up vertically.
Right. And I think it's like what I was saying, if our ministers too in the community, because they have the crowd, they have the majority of the people, and they have a chance to help young people more than what they do instead of holding them back. But they tell them what you can and what you can't do. And that's not right. Mm-hmm. And I think if we could get them to understand they're not helping the young people in the way they're teaching them. They're not teaching them how to live here on earth and how to get out and do things and help that person that needs help, that's a little bit less fortunate than they are. They ain't teaching them that. Mm-hmm. You don't ever hear that. All they talk about is what Paul done, what John done, and all of these people back, that's fine. But bring in some of these people. You never hear them say anything about Dr. Martin Luther King. You never hear them say anything about Randolph Phillips, George Washington Carver, Booker T. Washington. You never hear them say anything about that. You never hear them say anything about Jackie Robinson. You never hear them say anything about Muhammad Ali. And look at most of the things have been changed in the last 70 years since I've been living. Who has changed it? Black folks. Muhammad Ali, what did he do? He refused to go to service, didn't he?
He was a conscientious objector.
Yes. What did he do? Didn't he change the way you go into the service now? Did he change that?
Yeah, he was a modifier on a number of things.
Didn't Dr. King change the whole world? You ain't never seen people demonstrating and marching, and after Dr. King, all of this come about. Booker T. Washington, mm-hmm. George Washington Carver, Granville T. Woods, Thurgood Marshall. Do you ask the average black person right now, who invented the first telephone? Who will they tell you? Who invented the first telephone?
They'll say Alexander Graham Bell.
It wasn't. Granville T. Woods was the first man invented. He sold out to Bell. The first cowboy hat was worn. Who won it? A black man. They taken that from him. The horseshoes, the cowboy boots, black man. Pencil sharpener, piano. The grease device you grease your car with. Those things. The two-cylinder gasoline engine, the refrigerator, the fan up there. You know why he invented that? The clock was all of these things. You ask black people, they don't know anything about this. But the black man got tired of fanning all the time. He had the fan boss. And they invented that. He got tired of working from kin to kin. From the time I can see till the time I can't, you had to work. He invented the clock. These things, we don't teach our kids none of this stuff. And what I tell young people, I'm telling you this because I don't want you to have to go through what I went through. And I know you guys are young men, you haven't gone through what I've gone through from Mississippi and Louisiana and all them places where I've lived. But try to tell them they're the best, because if you don't, they want to slip you but right back in the same place you was in the 20s. And if you don't tell them how you came through and what life is about, so far as you can, then it'll be easy for them to slip back in there. Because they don't say anything about it in the church. Now see, white people do. That's why in their churches, in their businesses, they don't care about you being in there. Because they can't talk about it when you're involved. When I went to the police department, it made a great difference, a great change. Because I was sitting up in every meeting. And when something come down, brother, I was right there. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't get in there and talk about us and call us names and different kind of stuff because I was there. Mm-hmm. And that's why I tell young people, get involved. As long as you're on the outside, you don't know what's going on the inside. But when I was on the inside, hey, a lot of people that I had, they knew what was going on. Yeah. But, because that man don't want you whooping his mom and his daughter and his sister. And he ain't going to be whooping yours. But as long as he ain't got nobody in there to protect that, he going to dog them. Yeah.
Jim, again, you have a lot of interesting information, that we would love to glean. We don't have a lot of time because I know you're getting ready to go back to Alaska tomorrow morning. But Jim, before we end, we'll say this interview, and like I said, it's been good. And Jim, we want to thank you. There's no question about it. We definitely want to thank you because you've helped us out. But Jim, I want to go back and touch on one thing. And Jim, and I know that you have been musically inclined, been involved in entertainment, singing, choirs, nightclubs, groups, and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about where, again, you had also mentioned that you learned to sing the blues, we'll say behind, a plow line and a mule.
Yes.
Tell us something about, how
Well, I tell you, I started plowing when I was 5 years old. And all my folks sang. And I started singing, plowing that mule. And I listened to the rhythm of the mule's harness. The hames would be, you know what the hames is? Them things go around his neck on the collar. The traces are the chains that run down to the plow. Mm-hmm. And the mule would walk, and he had more rhythm than the drums. And his ears would flop just like, and he was stepping in that. Mm-hmm. And I learned to sing from that. And I remember the first blues song that I learned to sing was Louise. And I started singing that song one evening. I'm going to sing just a little bit of it for you. And the guys across the field over there, that's why we didn't have no telephone. Because they could holler so loud. And I was singing, Louise, Louise, you the sweetest girl I know. Oh, Louise, you're the sweetest girl I know. Well, you made me walk from Chicago down to the Gulf of Mexico. And somebody over the next cut over there would holler, say, hey, James. So say that one more time. And I would say it again. Well, my dad didn't know no better. He said, boy, you going to hell singing the blues. But I did. I remember the first gospel song that I learned to sing. I sang that in church when I was 5 years old. And there's no room at the hotel. Mm-hmm. And I still know every word of that song today. And I'm going to sing a little bit of that for you. There was no room at the hotel. There was no room at the hotel. When the time had fully come for my Savior to be born, they said there was no room at the hotel. They said bellboys, the porters and waitresses, hired maids and cooks will be a witness in judgment because they saw that humble look Well, I heard the manager say when he turned poor Mary away, he said, there's no room at the hotel. I sing that in church.
That was the first, you say 5 years old.
That was 5 years old. That was the first, and I sang that in the nightclub up in Anchorage, Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And people just, every time I go in, they want to hear that.
Yeah. Well, Jim, you know, again, as I said, you know, you've been involved in, we'll say, in the church choirs, and different, maybe I know it's the quartets, little groups around.
Yeah.
Over the years. What was the first group that you performed with here locally in the Tri-Cities? What, you know, what the name of the group? Can you remember? I mean, or was it
The Christian Travelers.
the Christian Travelers?
The Christian Travelers.
Who was
1949.
1949. Who was
John Tharps, we call Pee Wee, was a tenor singer. Joe Strauss was the first lead singer. And Otis Denham.
Otis who now?
Denham.
Denham?
Yeah, he lives in Spokane now. He's 87 years old. He's kind of feeble, my foster brother. I'm going up to see him probably before I leave. I got to go up. I told him, he called me this evening, and I said, well, I'm going to put it off. I was going to leave tomorrow, but I'm going to wait and go Sunday because I don't have to catch the plane until Monday night.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to go up and see him. And Otis Denham, he was the baritone singer. And me, I was the bass singer. They made me sing bass. I never sang bass before because I used to sing 7 different voices. But since I trained my voice to sing down, I can go down, but I can't go up too high anymore. But Castle Lee Turner was the first tenor. Pee Wee was the second tenor. Otis Denham was the baritone, and I was the bass. And I got that's what I'm taking up to him, is one of the old recordings that we had back in the 50s.
They have a recording?
Huh?
You have a recording still?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jim, yeah, well, and that's interesting also, Jim, because not only is it we'll say keepsake information for you. I know our group is interested in material such as that, or having access or copies or whatever, because we feel it's so important for us to document and put contributions that African Americans have made and the things they've been involved with, and we're trying to gather this information. So that's why it perked our interest, that you have a copy.
Well, we in 1952, we broadcast on Sunday mornings out of Pasco.
Do you remember what station it was?
Yeah, Pasco.
I know. Was there call? Any call letters at that time?
It was just Keeper, wasn't it? That's the only thing.
Yeah, Keeper.
Was it? In 52?
That was it.
Yeah.
Well, I know we had. I know there was.
We broadcast every Sunday morning for 30 minutes.
Or was it KIMA being? And I'm just trying to think because before we had the Keeper radio station here or television station, the broadcast was coming out of the city of Yakima.
No,
Go ahead.
Jim, again, you shared with us a number of things. Again, on the last we were talking about your music involvement, being involved in we'll say some local we'll say choirs and entertainment in general, and I know that you've been we'll say involved in any number of groups, and entertaining any number of we'll say businesses, nightclub around the Tri-City and around the country and stuff like that. And can you tell me the second group that you got and became involved with,
Yes.
as far as music?
the Heavenly Harps.
Okay.
Here in Pasco. That was the second group. And then I was down in Los Angeles, and I was with the Rainbow Gospel Singers there for a while. And also in Las Vegas. the Clouds of Joy. I was with the Clouds of Joy in Las Vegas, and we set up local number 11 down there with Odessa Perkins. Was with the Ward Singers at one time. Ward Singers were a professional group, and I was with that group for a while.
Well, Jim, again, as I've said, that that you.
But I would like to say this, John. When I first started singing, I remember here, the first time I went to blues. I never sang blues in a club before until 1969. I was drawing $42 a week. And Ed Jackson came to me and asked me if I would want to sing. I said, man, I don't sing the blues, I sing gospel. But I was drawing $42 a week. He said, I'll pay you $130 if you will sing. And I'll give you the band. You take the band and go ahead. I'll pay you individually $130 a week if you will take that, if you will sing and help keep the young people out of here, because you know everybody, and keep them out of the club. And I went and talked it over with my wife. And she said, if I were you, I wouldn't sing. I don't know, because people going to say you ain't nothing if you go and sing, because, you've been singing gospel. And I said, baby, I said, I got bills to pay. I got my kids to feed. I said, no, what am I going to do? $42 a week ain't very much. And I said, the man offered me that, and I can still draw my Social Security, my unemployment. And, I'll make enough to where we can eat and pay our light bills and everything until spring come, maybe, and my jobs will come back. She said, no, I don't think I would do that. I said, well, sweetheart, this is one time I'm going to have to overrule you. I'm going to take this. And I went down and started singing. I held no office in the church. I still went to church. But nobody ever said anything to me about it. But they didn't agree with me singing down in that club. But the choir members of each church were paying $2.50 a night to come to Jack's Pit and Grill and hear me sing. And we had more fun, because to me it was a job. And I wasn't there women chasing, getting drunk and all that. I was trying to make some money. And that's what I done. And people got mad at me because and they said I wasn't a Christian. But I am a Christian. And a lot of people don't know what a Christian is. You ask most people, say, what is a Christian? A Christian is Christ-like. A Christian is not a murderer. They don't harm people. They don't destroy. I'm not a peace breaker. I'm a peacemaker. And anywhere you go, that you'll find that within me. And anywhere I go in Anchorage, Alaska, they call me Mr. Pruitt. In Fairbanks, they call me King James. They do. But I asked the young people, I said, why y'all call me Mr. Pruitt? You think I'm getting old? But I get that kind of respect. I go to the Hilton, I go to the Barron, to the Sheraton, to any of those places I go. And if I go in there, I bet you I can go in there and stay in there for 3 minutes and my table's going to be full of people. I don't go and tell people, you ought to do this or you ought to go. I tell how life has been with me and what's on the inside of me. And people enjoy that. And this is what I'm saying. The minister's afraid to go out in the community and go into these places. And see, if you're such a strong person, why should you be afraid to go in? I don't want to go where young people is. I'm where young people are. Young people keep you hopping. They keep your mind. You don't have time to think about them aches and pains and them hurts. But when you sit around them old folks, child, say, my old knee hurt me so bad, or my old hip hurt me so bad, I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to hear that. My next birthday, I'll be 78 years old. And I get up and I go, I say, I got a little combo. I sing 2 nights a week. I sang gospel in the club. Black folks told me, you don't sing gospel in the clubs. You don't sing that. Mahalia Jackson turned down $1 million contract. She didn't sing in the club. Why not? That's where you're supposed to sing. That's where the preacher's supposed to go. He said go into the hedges and the highways. And I go in there, old woman, 89 years old, I went to VFW. And she said, Mr. Pruitt, she said, do you sing gospel? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, would you sing something for me, please, sir? I did just a closer walk with thee, wasn't a dry in the house when I got through. There's one doesn't happen for white people, but I mean, this is what it's about. And when I go there, I'm not going there to get drunk, because drinking is something I ain't never cared. Now I take a drink every now and then, but I ain't never cared nothing about no drinking and stuff. But I'm concerned about people and young people. I do anything in the world to help them. And I try to, all my grandkids, I try to talk to them, try to show them the way and help them to understand. But, you know, if you don't have some backing sometimes, it's hard.
Yes, it is.
And like I say, you can go to church and everything else, but if you ain't got some backings, you don't learn. And I'm still, the preachers used to be, the preachers and the teachers used to be the outstanding people in the community. The preachers sold out. They want some money, bring their tithe, and they don't think about what the young people gonna do.
Yeah.
Just do this today, you know. And I wish that they would wake up and start doing something and taking the bridle off of young people and tell them to go. You know, whatever your talent is, go out there and do it. As long as you ain't killing and robbing and stealing and doing things that's not good for your life, you know. But whatever your talent is, go out there and do it.
Jim, I want to say this right here. You know, the African American for Academic Society History and Recognition Committee truly thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and interviewing with us. And I want to say it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, and we're glad to have you. And Jim, is there anything else you want to add at this time? We'll say to the interview. For us, want to ad lib or just feel comfortable saying.
Well, I would just like to say it's a blessing that you guys are doing this, because this has never been done before, and I think a lot of people act like they're afraid to come forward and say something, you know. But me, I'm like Paul, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have, I give of thee. So I'm glad to see you doing this. And when I walked in and saw Leonard down in the park, I was surprised. It did me good to see you down there. And the few people on the chart there that I named, I said, and I saw he was interested in that, and that's good. That's beautiful. And I wish you could get some more young people involved in this, to.
Well, we're trying to, Jim. This is the whole reason behind this. You know, we want to be able to reduce, we'll say, to pay. You know, we'll say paper. I will say video, the contribution that African Americans will say have made, and with the hope that we can get the black community more involved in a number of programs, and as you say, being on the inside. And again, AACCES, for its organization, you know, it's just, you know, it's invested in the young people, and we're just basically trying to get the information together and trying to get the information out. And so we're glad that we're able to do it, you know. And we're hoping that when we do put the finished product together, that the community folks, or folks in the community, or folks that may see, will say this exhibit, would be appreciative that someone took the time, will say, to tell the story that my family or part of my family or someone I know came this way in the Tri-Cities.
Well, I'd like to say something else. Kirkson's Park over there. The black men that put that park together, that was given to us. And every tree that was set out over there, these hands dug them up. Me and one white boy, Roy Harrington.
What was his name again?
Harrington.
Okay.
We went out to Job's and we worked out there 4 hours on Saturday morning, and he gave us those trees. While we were doing that, other men was digging the trenches for the water lines.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the guys was out at the old Navy base out there digging up the pipe that had been given to us. And St. John's Trucking was hauling them over to Kirkman's Park free.
Did George Kurtzman donate this land? Was it to the city of Pasco?
Kurtzman?
Or was it
He dedicated that to the park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
He dedicated that to us.
So the
And
initial work that went into what we now know as Kurtzman Park,
yes.
but I remember it first as Candy Cane Park.
No, it ain't never been Candy Cane.
It never had,
Never been. It's always been Kurtzman.
Well, for some reason, I wonder why I'm getting the Candy Cane.
No, it's Kurtzman.
I know it's Kurtzman Park, but I remember when now we look at the park at the physical size it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
When it was initially put in there, they had a merry-go-round, a monkey bars, an elephant slide there, and if I'm not mistaken, it says Candy Cane Park, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yep.
Okay.
Kurtzman.
It was right across the street. We'll say we had California Street and Weehee Street came together.
That's right.
And so this is just interesting because I do know that it was a community involvement project as far as, the initial, we'll say, civil work, and far as in stabilizing the area and stuff like that.
I'll say this is I don't think two people in this Joe Jackson and Webster Jackson never got out in the ditches with us. I've never seen him out there. And he's a guy, Webster, I am the cause of Webster Jackson having the job he got today.
For the city of Pasco?
Yes, sir. Webster, Owita, you can ask Owita, she'll tell you. I begged her to take the job she got down there.
Was that Weeder Rand?
Yes. Webster Jackson, Ma Wininger, gave me the authority to set up all for the chief of police, for the sergeants or whoever. That's why I said they worked with me on that. I was set up the screening process of everything. And when it come down to the three people to take over urban renewal, it was Wayne Jackson, Herbert Housen, or Webster Jackson. Ma Wininger came to me and he said, I'll give you the choice to pick whichever one of these men that you think would be suitable for urban renewal.
Urban Renewal Project was around 1968, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
About 1968.
Yeah.
This is
4 minutes left, Joe.
Yeah. So I selected Webster over Wayne Jackson and Herbert Housen because I felt like Webster knew more about the community than anybody else, and that's why I picked him. And a lot of people were dissatisfied with Webster.
James, there's a lot of unsung heroes and heroines, if you will, in the community. And when I say unsung, individuals that were behind the scene, individuals that were out there in the trenches and never got the credit for it.
Yeah.
Do you know some of those people out there, James?
Gilbert Owens, Thelma Hawkins, Joe Bush, Cloyd, Ray Henry, Herman James. He worked out there with his son. It's so many people that gave a hand out there, and they worked with us. Even George Halbar, they come out there and they'd help. They'd do whatever little they could do. That's one thing they done. They really did, and we appreciated that. But there was Vanish Daniel, Willie Daniel. They worked out there.
Well, anyway, again, James, when I say we, this again is the African American for an Academic Society History and Recognition Committee. Do greatly appreciate you taking this time out and sharing this information with us and and we're working towards successfully putting together this exhibit. And with your help, I think we're going to achieve it. And
Thank you, and you like my son anyway. You know, I worked with you quite a bit when you were growing up. Yeah.